a Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in to Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. We were going to start out the show today by telling you guys just how awesome Amarius Mims looked in the preseason opener against the Buccaneers. We had to pivot our show a little bit after Zac Taylor's press conference. Amarius Mims is hurt. We'll dive into that. He's going to be out for several weeks, unfortunately, but it appears as though he has avoided any serious injury, so that is good at least. Also, coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss Jermaine Burton's playing time. Obviously, Jermaine Burton played really well when he was out there, but we didn't see him until late in the game. We'll try to find some answers in that department as well. And PFF released their grades for the Bengals during the preseason opener against the Buccaneers, so we'll dive into a few of those grades for the Cincinnati Bengals. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to like today's video, as you should with all of our videos here at Bengals Breakdown. We're in a like battle against our Ravens channel here at Chat Sports in the month of August, and so far we're doing a good job. We've each had one live stream watch party, and we are out in front, so that is good news. But let's keep that pace. Let's keep hitting that thumbs up icon, help us out, and like today's video. All right, so the big news of the day, Amarius Mims is injured. First-round pick Amarius Mims will miss several weeks with a strained pectoral muscle. And this really is just kind of a shot to the side because he played so well. People have been talking about him so much at training camp, really all off season long, about how great he has looked. And now he hits a bump in the road here with this injury. This is what Ben Baby tweeted out, who covers the Bengals for ESPN, and of course was at Zac Taylor's press conference. He said Mims suffered a strained pectoral. Per Zac Taylor, he will be out for several weeks. When asked if that means Mims will be back for week 1, Taylor read the definition of several out of the dictionary, which is kind of funny. That's kind of un-Zac Taylor. Like, that seems like a Jim Harbaugh thing or something. But I do want to add that Taylor said he wouldn't rule out that Mims could still potentially start week 1. So that is certainly noteworthy. And listen, there's no reason to panic here. It's just unfortunate, right? Because he had been playing so well. There was so much optimism surrounding Amarius Mims. And I really thought he was going to take control of that right tackle battle. I know they brought in Trent Brown to be that guy, at least for this year. But things were going so well with Amarius Mims. Everybody was pleased with him, including Joe Burrow. So it looked like he was going to have a real opportunity to really showcase his abilities over the next 2 preseason games as well and potentially vault himself into that starting lineup week 1. And that certainly takes a shot with this injury. Again, Taylor said he's not going to rule out that Mims could still be the guy week 1. But without these reps, and Trent Brown's going to get sped up here today, which we'll get and dive into that a little bit later. But it is just unfortunate. Again, he doesn't need surgery. It's not time to hit the panic button. They do anticipate him being back within several weeks. Exactly when that timetable is, we do not know, and we will let you guys know when that information is released, but don't expect that to come out anytime soon. So what is your concern level with Amarius Mims' injury? Scale it for us 1 to 10 in the comment section. It is our pinned comment of today's show, so if that ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. Charlie Goldsmith of the Inquirer also was at Zac Taylor's press conference this afternoon before practice, and he said that Trent Brown will start working into practice today. We're anticipating him being in there and ready to go. So that's certainly good news in the sense that they're going to have a guy out there at right tackle that they have a lot of belief in. But it's unfortunate that we haven't been able to see Brown and Mims out there at the same time, right? We thought we were going to get this great right tackle battle, and now it seems this whole time it's been, well, Mims is there and Brown's not, and now those roles kind of flip today, and Brown will be out there. That's the plan anyway, and Mims will not. Also, another injury note from Jay Morrison, covering the Bengals for Pro Football Network. Devonnsha Maxwell passed his physical and is cleared to practice, so that leaves just DJ Ivey on the PUP list. And this is really good because if I had to pick my one area of concern with the Bengals, it is the whole defensive line unit. Thought that unit really struggled in the opener against Tampa Bay. Getting another body back out there off the PUP list, add a little bit of depth. Guy that's played some football, was a valuable practice squad guy for you. Is certainly noteworthy and good to have him back. Another injury note, real quick. on Daijahn Anthony. If you watched the game or were watching our watch party, you know that Daijahn Anthony kind of left the game with a bloody nose. There is a nose fracture, but it's something he can play through. So that's very unfortunate for Anthony that he's going to have to deal with that, but at least he avoids serious injury as well, and he's a guy that's really competing to try to make the roster for Cincinnati. Of course, a 7th-round pick for the Bengals. And another highlight out of Zac Taylor's press conference from today was he's not anticipating starters playing in Chicago, but won't take anything off the table for Indianapolis, specifically regarding Burrow. He also floated around the idea that Burrow could potentially play against Chicago, but I would be surprised if we saw Joe Burrow or any of the starters out there. Why? Because there's a joint practice only a couple days prior to the preseason game coming up on Thursday, and those guys are going to get a ton of work during that period. So that'll kind of be their preseason week 2 game. Unfortunately for us, we won't be able to see that, but that's kind of what things are shaping up to look like for the end of the week going into the weekend. Now back to the game that took place on Saturday. Jermaine Burton was excellent when his number was called. Again, he didn't get out into the game until late, and that was very confusing for me. I know a lot of fans were confused as well. Really, we've looked at Burton as a guy that can have a lot of impact year 1 in terms of being like a starter or getting a lot of reps with the ones, but he was out there with the 3rd, 4th team guys, so that was a bit of a shock. Here's what Taylor said after the game in regards to that, trying to, I guess, clear the air a little bit and help us understand what exactly was going on. He said, "There's just zero rhythm whatsoever in the second quarter, midway through the third quarter, to where we weren't focused on just getting guys in there. We focused on getting first down so we could run the ball and call some stuff off of it. We were able to get him in there late in the game and target him a couple times. The quarterback did a good job finding him, and he did a great job when the ball went to him. That's what we want to see from him." And this is what Burrow had to say about Jermaine Burton. He said, "Made some really good plays there at the end. He just needs to keep working hard, getting in his playbook, and continue to build and grow as a player and as a person. His future is bright, and he just needs to keep working hard." The biggest thing for me that stands out about this is that playbook comment from Joe Burrow, right? I feel like this is really the only thing I can think of as to why Burton wasn't out there earlier. Maybe he's having a tougher time kind of digesting that playbook, and that's kind of why we saw him out there late. That's really the only thing I can come up with, but I fully anticipate to see him out there earlier in the game on Saturday, especially if the ones aren't going to be playing. But something to monitor certainly with Jermaine Burton. He is a young player, so sometimes it takes younger guys a little bit longer to pick up on the playbook, and I completely understand that. But that would be really the only thing that comes to mind as to why Burton wasn't out there a little bit earlier in the game. And I do understand, the comments that Taylor made. If you watched the game, or again, if you were with us for our watch party, Browning in this second-team offense was not doing anything. So I understand they wanted to keep those guys in the game a little bit longer, see if they could find a groove, which ended up not ever happening. So will Jermaine Burton play more on Saturday? Let us know in the comments section. Type A for yes or B for no. Again, let us know in the comments what you think. Sound off for us. Get your voices in there and let us know what you think in the comments section. This is the depth chart that the Bengals released prior to the preseason game against Tampa Bay, and it had Burton a little bit towards the back, so to speak. And we saw that kind of with a lot of the rookies as well. So, it isn't really alarming, I guess. Again, that the depth chart that they put out before the preseason games is not gospel by any means, but he was towards the bottom of the depth chart for this preseason game, so I guess it sort of makes sense that he wasn't out there a ton, certainly not in the early on whatsoever for the Bengals on Saturday night. I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time, as today's show is presented by Game Time. And I love the summer because Major League Baseball is in full swing, and I love making the walk down the street from our Chat Sports offices to a Reds game any chance I get. Got the Cardinals coming into town, really big series here this week. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And with the NFL season just around the corner, you can get tickets to watch the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium. Game Time doesn't just have sporting events either. They also have concerts, comedy, theater, and more. I really love the zone deals. You choose the section, and Game Time chooses the seats for you. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So we mentioned at the beginning of the show, PFF released their grades for each player, and I don't want to dive too much into all the numbers, but basically if you got a guy that's in the 80s, they're doing really well. And Cordell Volson was that guy for Cincinnati, coming in with an 80.1 grade. And it's noteworthy because I know he got banged up a lot in the media last year. I guess banged up's not really a good word to use because he hasn't missed a single snap during his time here with the Bengals. But he got beat up in the media, right? People blamed him for a lot of the issues that Cincinnati had on the offensive line, and I'm expecting a big year for him. This is a guy that's played, again, a lot of football. He played at North Dakota State, where he was a part of 4 national champion teams. This guy's been a part of winning. He's a tough dude. He's always out there for Cincinnati, and he's played every single snap that he's been a part of the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm looking for Cordell Volson to have a really big year, kind of a bounce-back year, so to speak, and he was really good for Cincinnati out in the early going on that first drive with Joe Burrow and the rest of the ones. Andre Iosivas also at 76.9, another solid grade for the Bengals. Again, I keep going back to it, but when you see him out there on the football field, he just looks like an NFL receiver, right? He doesn't look like a 6th-round draft pick, and I'm really expecting a big year out of Yoshi this year for Cincinnati, and I thought he looked really good. Obviously, he only had 1 catch in the preseason game, but it was a big catch, and it really kept their drive going and allowed them to eventually score a touchdown. So really excited for what's on the horizon for Iosivas. He looked great in that first game against Tampa Bay on Saturday night. Speaking of watch parties, don't miss our second watch party. This Saturday at 12:30, we will be live for Bengals and the Bears, so make sure you tune into that. We had a heck of a lot of fun with our first one and hoping to run it back here on Saturday. So hit that sub button so you don't miss out, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Mumajong Maeda coming in with a grade of 91.4. If you watch the show, you know how much I love this guy. We've been talking about him a lot, and now the rest of the media is starting to talk about him as well. He led the team in tackles on Saturday. He really was just flying around and made a ton of plays for Cincinnati. Played a lot of football at Wisconsin. If you had a linebacker that played in the Big Ten and played, was really stuffed the stat sheet, especially during his final 2 years at Wisconsin, those guys can usually translate over to the NFL. I think that's why the Bengals gave him a significantly higher amount of money than typical undrafted guys get. They have a lot of belief in him, and I think he's really put himself in a position to potentially make that roster. Will he challenge Joe Bacci for that 4 spot in the linebacker room? I don't know, but if they keep 5, this is the guy I'm looking to take that 5th spot. And lastly, Dax Hill. Coming in with a 90.2 grade. Really loved what I saw from Dax Hill on Saturday. He was flying around, and he just looked comfortable out there. He did get beat once, but 3 pass breakups, nearly had an interception that he tipped to himself, and he just looked at home out there at the cornerback position, and I think he's going to get a lot of valuable reps for Cincinnati at that spot. People act like, the DJ Turner has completely kind of ended the cornerback 2 battle, but after that performance on Saturday, I don't think it's over by any means. I think you got to give the leg up to DJ Turner still, but I think Dax Hill has opportunity to push him for that spot or at least get significant reps for Cincinnati at the cornerback position in 2024.